Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Sheets, and I'm going to be doing the early look for the NBA slate this evening. Bobby's out today. Um, and what we're going to do is it's going to be a little more comprehensive than what I'm usually used to doing these myself. So, what I am going to do is go through each game and identify kind of the best values and that type of thing. And then we're going to go back and do lineup builds using SaberSim for both DraftKings and FanDuel, just to get some practice of using the tools, using the new SaberSim, and again trying to be somewhat instructive on how to do that. Um, Now, again, for those of you that are here for the first time, I mean, these projections and the analysis of the projections are going to change between now and lock, which is at 7 o'clock tonight. I'm going to be going live again at 6 to go over kind of updated projections, monitor late changes and things like that. And then you're going to probably see me do live lineup build tonight, which if you're actually playing, it's going to be hard for you to do that at the same time as you're doing your own lineups. But that's, it depends on what you're looking to get out of this. Nonetheless, that seems to be the schedule for today. In addition to that, at 5 o'clock, I'm probably going to do something with the hockey. And for those of you that are waiting for the MMA lineup construction video, that's going to be coming out somewhat later today as well, because that card starts at 10 a.m. We do have a very full slate, so we're just going to go right through it. And again, this is an early look. There's probably going to be news that we don't even know what's going to happen, but again, this is the way I like to analyze it. And so you're getting a look into my process. And there's also going to be a couple of bets that I want to highlight. As I mentioned yesterday, there's kind of a cute little system play that me and my old college friend used to play all the time, like when we were in college and past college, that had an extremely strong record. And every year, I very rarely play the NBA, but this is something I always play, and I'm going to highlight what those are. Yesterday, that it lost, by the way. We had the Wizards plus however many points they had, which was not enough to overcome the 20 points. But as we get to those, we'll remind you. The idea is that you want to play a team who is playing its home opener against a team who just played its home opener. It's a very natural letdown spot for a team to play its home opener and then go on the road right away, and to go into the good environment of the team playing its home opener. So this is something that I don't think is factored in by the lines too much. So you get a little bit of a boost there. And again, I very rarely bet on sports, but this is something I do play. Game 2 of the season. So we'll highlight those spots when we get to them. So I think there are 3. So anyway, the first game, we have Philadelphia at Toronto. That is not one of the spots that Toronto did, in fact, already play at home. But let's look at it from a DFS perspective and see if anybody kind of stands out here. First of all, overall on the slate, I mean, there are some decent values, but I don't see anybody, projecting over 6x yet. There's a couple that are getting there, but nobody that's that, much of a lock. The top value actually that I am getting just on a points per dollar basis in this game is curiously Chris Boucher, which is pretty odd considering he's not particularly high owned. So this is somebody that you probably want to, keep an eye on, see how that goes. So Chris Boucher, Saberson's giving a 21-point projection right now, and I am kind of right alongside of that. I think maybe a little bit less, maybe actually right about 21. So at 3,800, that 3,900, that rates to be a pretty strong point per dollar play, especially on a slate where there's nothing that's that great. That's interesting. The kind of higher priced but decent values I'm seeing from this game, I guess Scotty Barnes at 8,800. Scotty Barnes at 80. Let's use DraftKings, just easier for me. Scotty Barnes at 8,800 is the guy that I'm getting to is kind of the best of the kind of mid-range type plays here. But relative to the rest of the slate, I have him rated about 12th or 13th or something like that. So it's not that terrific. The other guy that I will mention again is Andre Drummond at 6,800 with Embiid out. He rates to be kind of okay, not the best center on the board, but cheap enough, I guess, at that position where you could play him. So in this game, I mean, these are really the two guys, and there's also, I guess, Tyrese Maxey looks reasonable too. So the way I look at this game at first is I would say Maxey, Drummond on the Philly side, on the Toronto side, Scotty Barnes, and if you want, I mean, again, Chris Boucher is very it's interesting. What position does he play? Is he a center or forward nowadays? He's power forward eligible, so that helps. On FanDuel, I will note that we're getting quite a bit of ownership out of Kelly Oubre. So I'm going to take a look at so he's only 6,200 there. I have him as one of the top, if not the top point per dollar play over on FanDuel. The other thing about FanDuel I would mention is that Caleb Martin rates to be extremely strong over there. So that's you should probably write that down. It's a pretty big distinction. So Oubre, Caleb Martin, and also I should say Davion Mitchell on FanDuel rates to be a stronger play than on DraftKings. Remember, Quickly is out, so that's why all these guys are popping. But curiously, the difference, there is a difference between FanDuel and DraftKings tonight. On DraftKings, those guys don't really show up all that much. Where on FanDuel, they look to be extremely strong. Let me just double check and make sure that they don't look better than I think. No, I mean not really. So Grady Dick at 5,000. Is that a good play? We'll have to take another look at Davion Mitchell maybe. Anyway, that's Philadelphia, Toronto, at least for now. Brooklyn against Orlando. Let's take a look. First of all, it's not a system play. I think Orlando already played at home, or Brooklyn did not play its home opener in his last start. So, yeah, in either case, this is not one of the ones we're looking at. Let's take a look. I guess first points per dollar, see who looks good here. Orlando, you're getting Jalen Suggs as one of the better values on the slate. We'll make a note of him. Was he point guard he's point guard only eligible, which makes it a little harder to get in, but still he looks very good. Paolo Banchero at 8,700. Looks like a decent play. And then what else? Brooklyn, really, especially on DraftKings, really not seeing too much stand out here. So we'll have to look again, and it is early, but for now, it's really just a couple of Orlando guys. So Jalen Suggs and Paolo and Banchero. All right, Charlotte, Orlando. Charlotte just played its home opener, and they are now going into Atlanta, who is playing their home opener. So Atlanta minus the points would be a system play here. So I'm gonna be betting that. Again, just gonna do it every year. Let me just confirm that that's the case. I think it is the case. I just want to make sure. Okay, so Atlanta in its last game was in fact no, they were at home. Okay, so this is a mistake. So they already played at home. So this is not their home opener. So this is not a system play. So we will not be playing Atlanta against the spread. I can't believe I missed that. Let me just double check the Brooklyn thing again for a second. Brooklyn already played on the road, so that doesn't count. Let me just make sure the Philly-Houston thing didn't fit. Philly they played at home, but Toronto, I think, already played at home. So okay, so we're up to date at least. All right. So Charlotte and Atlanta from a DFS perspective. Trey Mann at 4,300 looks to be a very, very strong point per dollar play, at least on early projections. And the other one from this game was really standing out is Dyson Daniels. Dyson Daniels. He is point guard, shooting guard, and just, I guess obviously regular guard eligible. And he is only 4,600. That is going to be a very, very strong play. The only thing is that he's going to get the minutes, but he's not exactly a great, I don't know the best way to describe it, offensive player. But with no what's his name? With no Bogdanovich, he's going to get a bunch of minutes, having to probably chase LaMelo Ball over the court. So, yeah. So Dyson Daniels is going to show up as a good popular play. So him and Mann are the two, kind of like cheapos. And on the other hand, LaMelo Ball himself looks like a very, very good play. At, what is he, 90, 91, something like that? So what you could do, I mean, you could play, not Trae Young, you could play LaMelo Ball and Daniels together. The idea being that Daniels is going to be in the game whenever LaMelo Ball is in the game, because they're going to need someone like him to guard him. And Dyson Daniels is obviously a defensive specialist. So that's one thing you could do. You can screw around with your groups or whatever, that you make sure that you play LaMelo Ball with Dyson Daniels, or give Dyson Daniels a boost in your LaMelo Ball lineups, or vice versa, or both. Sec. All right. Okay, moving on. Detroit against Cleveland. All right. So Detroit, they just played their home opener yesterday. And now they're going on the road to play Cleveland, who is playing their home opener. So I do like Cleveland minus the points. Now they are going to be laying quite a bit, but again, this is not necessarily price sensitive. It's just a kind of a psychological system play. So I do like Cleveland here against the spread, whatever that is. Let's take a look at the DFS stuff. From a point per dollar perspective, nothing really looks that great. I mean, Detroit, where are all the Detroit guys? I mean, really doesn't look great nothing looks that great for Detroit here. And Cleveland as well. This is kind of projecting to be a pretty bad DFS game. So, I mean, if anything, if I had to pick one, yeah, I mean, Cade Cunningham, Donovan Mitchell. As a matter of fact, I mean, if you wanted to do this, like let's say you really wanted to play Cade Cunningham, you can make the argument that you'd want to play Cade Cunningham with Donovan Mitchell, because neither of them on their own look like that great of a play. So in that case, I would probably try to put them together, that hopefully that one pushes the other, one ceiling leads to the other one ceiling. All right. Indianapolis against the Knicks. So you have the Knicks, who are playing their home opener right now. And the Pacers did not play their home opener, so that's not a system play. So let's go straight to the DFS stuff. I'm going to check on for questions, by the way, along the way. Okay. So Knicks Pacers, from a point per dollar perspective. Okay, so Karl Anthony Towns is an extremely strong play today. It's a good mixture of having good raw points upside as well as pretty decent value for his price here. So I like Karl Anthony Towns a lot. Jalen Brunson would be the next one, but he's significantly lower on my list than Cat. And then Indianapolis or Indiana, whatever. I'm really not seeing too much, if anything, from there. I mean, if I had to pick one, I mean, honestly, I'm not really getting to too much, if anything. So it's going to be Cat is maybe a priority today, and Jalen Brunson would be next. All right, Memphis, Houston. So this is the first actual system play that we have. You have Memphis, who is coming off. Let me just confirm this. Memphis is coming off their. Ooh, it was not their home opener. Oh, I thought they were at home in their last game. Oh, guess not, huh? Let's just make sure. I thought that they played at home in their last game, but I guess not. Yeah, they were at Utah, so this really doesn't apply. So I thought that it was going to be several more games, but I think it is just Cleveland as the home opener against the team playing its home opener tonight. We'll double check the other ones as we get to them. All right, so with respect to the DFS implications, let's see if anything looks good between Memphis and Houston. Not really. I mean, I'm looking at the points per dollar stuff, and you can look at my sheets on the website. I don't need to. This is free. I don't want to share the proprietary projections, but I can share them verbally, I guess. So I don't really have much from Memphis or Houston popping in my top 20 even. It's going to take a tough. I imagine they're all going to be low owned as a result, but see what else. Even just as far as raw points and raw fantasy point projections, I guess Sengun would be my top guy from this game, and Van Vliet. So likewise, I mean, I think maybe if you want to play them, you can play them both. But I have Sengun really on the outside looking in on today's plays, but he does look like he's going to be low owned, and he has a ceiling. So I don't know if we get to him in MME, I'm certainly not going to complain about it, but certainly not priorities. Okay, Chicago, Milwaukee. Again, I'm just double checking because I screwed up the last time with respect to who played home and who did what. So let's see. The Bulls. The Bulls play. Yeah, so the Bulls did play at home in their last game, right? Yeah, so the Bulls played at home. Why is it that I cannot manipulate this schedule the way that I want to? Just because I say in headers because you're an idiot. Right. Milwaukee, in their last game, they were on the road, and now they're coming home. And Chicago, well, I'm having a tough time figuring out what happened in Chicago's last game. Oh, no, Chicago was on the road as well. Yeah, Chicago was at New Orleans. So no system play there as well. All right, so let's look at the DFS stuff. Really not much as far as values go. We're going to get to the top, to just raw points in a minute, but nothing really good stands out as value as far as Milwaukee or Chicago. I guess Zach LaVine at 7K is the closest thing, and just kind of hang on to that one because when we look at the just kind of raw points from this game from DraftKings, Milwaukee, I mean, Giannis is probably the best overall play on the slate. And even though he's 11-1, he has what we call a very high sheets value score, and that's just kind of like the formula that I kind of put up there to kind of account for both points per dollar and raw points. So he's got the top, sheets value score on the board, and he's projected to be very low owned. So if you can make it work, and this is the reason why he's going to be low owned is because, it's kind of hard to get to him. But if you can find a way to get to play Giannis And to that point, if you want to play, say, Zach LaVine with Giannis and somehow, make the rest of this work, I mean, you could, right? You could play a good play in Towns, play LaVine and Giannis, then fill in the rest with some of these values we talked about. I think that's not a bad idea. So yeah, Giannis and then LaVine on the other side in this game. Golden State, Utah. I know that Utah is playing its second straight game at home, so that's not a play. Let's see if anybody shows up as far as DFS goes. Yeah, so we have Trace Jackson Davis for Golden State at center. Another good center option at 4,500. Who's showing up? So that's not bad. And again, if you want to play Giannis and LaVine, I mean, for example, you're going to have to find some of these guys. So I do like that. Anybody on Utah? I mean, you have Walker Kessler, who's 5,500. That's not terrible. But again, you have like this kind of constantly loaded center position that you have to kind of fight. So I definitely think that he's possible, but don't go crazy with it. Now, with respect to just like raw upside, they did rest Curry the last like quarter and 4 minutes of the last game. So he's probably good to go here. But, it's in Utah. It's got altitude. I don't know who's really playing 36 minutes into this business. So I do have Curry as kind of an okay play, but that's just kind of okay. So if anything, just some Trace Jackson Davis value, maybe some Walker Kessler from here. All right, New Orleans and Portland. Portland already played its home opener, so that does not fit. Let's take a look at the values here. Zion. All right, so Zion at 8,100. I mean, presuming he's good to go, obviously, which is not, never 100%. Is I think he's a great play. At 8,100. So that's one thing. Who else in New Orleans? Nothing really. Who on Portland looks good? Really nobody. So for me, it's a big chunk of Zion Williams just kind of as a one-off by himself. Let me just double check if we look at Sheets value score if that kind of changed anything. Oh, Zion again showing up. So Zion, I mean, listen, there should be no excuse. He should be all ready to go now. Let's just take a look and see what it says here. Was not on the injury report. He's ready to go. I mean, hell, Portland can't guard anybody. The only thing I'm worried about is a big blowout here. But, I don't know. On the road, maybe they don't get the blowout. And, yeah, I think Zion's an extraordinarily good play here. Let's put him in for now. Can you get him too? Probably not, right? No, you can't. You can't get all of this. You can't get Cat, Zion, LaVine, and Giannis, even if you went dumpster diving for some of this value. But you can get 3 of them, I mean, you could certainly you could get LaVine, Towns, and Williams kind of easily, but I only want to play LaVine, I think, if I play Giannis and vice versa. But that's not true. I mean, you could play Giannis here. Now you got to really just, remember all those punts that we talked about? Now you got to really play them. Like, I'll just remind you who they are before we get to this last game here. Trey Mann, for example. Remember that one from like 7 games ago? Trey Mann, you can play that. Oh, we can go back to Dyson Daniels, right? So you can do this, and you can find something at 4,600. Kayla Martin's 49, for example. So requires a little bit of massaging, but you could probably do it if you wanted to play this way. Okay, moving on to the last game, Phoenix against Los Angeles. Now, the Lakers, obviously, they played their home opener before, so that doesn't matter. For the system play, so again, from a betting perspective, I do like Cleveland minus the points, and I will be betting it. So far, we're 0-1 for the season. And, yeah. And as you know it from following these these streams, I give very, very few betting advice here. I think it's very, very difficult to beat the NBA, among other things, but very difficult. So Lakers, Phoenix, nothing from a betting perspective. Let's see from a DFS perspective if anything works out. Then we're going to run some sims here. Austin Reeves at 5,800 is okay. That's actually not bad. LeBron at 89 is not bad either. And then really nothing on Phoenix. And then you just look at raw points. You have Anthony Davis near there. So you have Davis, LeBron, and Austin Reeves from the Lakers as pretty decent plays. So that's actually not bad. All right, so let's pull up SaberSim, and what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that it's 15 minutes to lock, and these are the projections that we'd be using. So if you're a subscriber, you're going to be able, if you wanted to do this, to get my projections to replace the SaberSim ones if you want, or you could use the SaberSim ones if you have a SaberSim subscription. And you'll notice that I put my lineups in before. And this is a real important way to save time and to be more efficient if you use SaberSim, is to upload your lineups from DraftKings into the contest fields first before you do this. And if you want to remind yourself of how you do this, I'll do it again. So you would go to contest and you would go to this button, upload your entry files. And you could click on download template file from DraftKings and it already saves it to your computer. And then you click upload entries file, and wherever your normal downloads save, you'll go there. And now I'm going to overwrite this, which is fine. And so you'll see that whatever lineups I had were already in. And more important is that it pre-fills in the contest names and all the contest data with how much the prize pool is, how many entrants there are, and the field lineups that SaberSim recommends you use to run your simulations. Meaning that we run 5,000 lineups and we want to simulate those 5,000 lineups against an assortment of fields, and if you put your lineups in this contest thing first, it will automatically know what you're looking to do, which is a really, really great new feature here. So what we're going to do is we are going to build 5,000 lineups, and I'm going to be interested to see what we get. If we get some of the guys that we were talking about, if SaberSim is going to behave the way it did last season, what I think you're going to see is something that you won't expect, meaning that there's going to be probably a decent amount of ownership in some of these mid-range plays that I did not really highlight, and less of those big value plays along with Giannis that I recommended. But I'm curious to see what we get. Now, we're going to look at it on a lot of different ways. We're going to look at the regular Saber score look, and then we're going to do a couple of sims and see how that changes things. Okay. You'll see 160 lineups, and the reason why it's displaying 160 is those are the amount of lineups I'm playing total. So the first thing I'll do is we'll look at rating the top 150 lineups, or 160. Now you looked at it just from exposure. You will see that Dyson Daniels does rate to be the highest owned at 88%. And then you have Trey Mann, who we talked about. And the good thing is that all these guys that we mentioned are showing up. And if that should come as no surprise, it's because NBA is a very projectable sport, and it's very projection based. So it's very rare that you're going to come up with stuff that you didn't think you were going to come up with. Okay. If you do a decent job with your projections. So what you can do right now is, if you wanted to kind of put these in, you could just start to diversify a little bit, and you can go, more min uniques. And then what's kind of neat is to kind of see how it affects this exposure. But you're looking at a couple of different things here. You're looking at average projection, and what you would do is you would try to see based on, how many min uniques you play, what that does to the average projection of the lineup. And what you really want to do is go as many uniques as possible until it adversely affects this average projection by a decent amount. And I don't know what decent means. That's the problem. So I just noticed that it went down 2 points as opposed to going down 0 points from min 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. So maybe let's keep an eye on this. When we go from 4 to 5, it drops 5 points. So let's just, we're literally making this up. So maybe min uniques 4 is the max that you want to do. And you'll see, obviously, that you're getting much less ownership in the top owned guys when that happens. All right. It doesn't always work that way, but this particular build, that's what we'd end up getting. And you could save these to your lineups right now, and we could be done with it. But let's try to do a contest sim as well. And again, what we're doing when we're running these contest sims, to remind ourselves, is it's running contest sims for all of these fields. Okay, it's running my 5,000 lineups and how it applies to all of these fields because it knows we want to play these contests. So let's go ahead and do that. Just hit this button, run contest sims. And then you roll. Now, what you've seen me not do, you see me intentionally not do this, is I'm not making any manual changes to ownerships. I'm not saying, boy, I don't want 60% Trey Mann, or I want min 30% of Paolo Banchero. People play differently, and there are people that try to override the algorithms or whatever. I don't. I just kind of really trust that they know what they're doing here, especially in basketball. But let's take a look and see after we run the sims. Okay. So what this is showing is just full overall exposure to all the lineups. But depending on what contest you're putting your lineups in is what, that depends on what your exposure is to that particular contest. So what's cool about this is that you could click on either direct fill and manually put whatever you want into these contests, or if you really want, you can click on autofill. And what that will do is automatically put the contests in that you want with the lineups that you want in that contest without you telling it what to do. Now, the other thing that you have to keep an eye on is this drop down here. So when you click on unique rank, what this is doing is it's giving me 160 completely unique lineups. Okay. So when you have this setting on, you're never going to have, say, your monster lineup in your Friday eights lineup. And I think that that's healthy to do that. Some people can't take it. Some people want to, if your monster lineup does well, you want it to do well and everything. But for me, I opt for max diversification. So this is what I like to do. Now the question is what happens if a lineup would fit in more than one of these contests? Like, what if there was a lineup that looked really good and would have gone in both the monster, for example, the monster, whatever I'm calling it, the mega eights, and the Friday eights? How do they determine where that best lineup goes? So it's determined in the order of that you set this up here. So you have to kind of figure out how to do this. What Jordan likes to do is to sort by prize pool. The idea being that your best lineup should go in the one with the biggest prize pool, but that's a little bit lazy because if I did it here, it would be I would get a lot more love out of this World Championship qualifier thing. That's not really what I want. What I want is the best lineup, if I had to have a tie, to go into the one that has the most, impact. So like the mega eights, I'm only playing one. So if I want, and it's 888, I want the best lineup in that one. So what I'm going to do is probably the best, maybe the splash would be next. And then probably, I guess maybe the World Championship after that. Before that. Like the last thing I care about really is this MME stuff. So I'll put these all the way down at the bottom. Where's the MME? Where the box? There's the box out. And then we'll put Friday 8s all the way down here. I don't need like the best projected lineups in the lottery, right? If there's a tie. So this is the way I would probably rank them. And then autofill will automatically put the lineups in where you want them to go. So we've already set the min uniques rule, and we've already uploaded the projections. We've already run them. We've run the sims, and we've done autofill, and now we're just kind of ready to go. So we put save to contests, and you'll see that this red thing will go away, assuming that all these guys are in the lineups. And just so the reason why this is red now is because I did a dummy lineup to get started. Okay, so now we're good. And just download the entries. I mean, it's really just this easy. I don't want to say it's this easy to win, but the mechanics of doing it are easy. I mean, SaberSim is doing a tremendous job with that. Okay. All right, let's do the same thing with FanDuel, because I promised I would, and people might be here for that. And we'll do exactly the same thing. So again, start here. We have already put our contests in. Okay. Pretty much the same procedure as before. Actually, you know what? You want to do this again? Because it's a little different. I had to do this. I had to show Bobby the difference here. It's a little different because to upload FanDuel lineups, you have to actually first get them from FanDuel when you did the dummy lineup. So we're going to set CSV, download them first, and then go back into SaberSim and upload them, as opposed to the DraftKings that it automatically linked in. It was like a much smoother process. So it's a little work. It's a little harder. FanDuel, but what would that take? 5 seconds? Okay. So the lineup, the contests are in, as you'll see, same thing as DraftKings. It already saved all the sim data, right? And now up goes the projections. And we didn't really focus too much on FanDuel, with a couple of exceptions. So I don't actually know what to expect, but we shall see. We will rebuild the lineups. And see what we get. Almost done here. And again, I'm gonna take a look see and see what we would get first. So as I mentioned, Kelly Oubre was gonna pop, and he is, and Caleb Martin was gonna pop, and he is. Josh Giddey, that's an interesting one. He's 75% in my initial runs here, and again, same thing. We want to go, we want to make a min uniques rule here. So it started with 290. So let's go min uniques 2, and we'll just wait until it affects it by some amount. So 289 down to 286, that's 3 points. It affected the average projection. And this one now 5 points. So I imagine the next one's going to knock it off. I'm just guessing. Yep, it went 10. So we'll go back and we'll use min uniques 4 as our rule. And then same thing. We're going to go run contest sims, and it's going to run it against all of these settings that were preloaded. Now, again, this is not about how to create custom contest fields or anything like that, or deciding which ones. I mean, we're presuming that we're going to use the stock SaberSim ones for this purpose of this video. All right, so again, same story. You could go direct fill, where we can identify on an individual basis where to put everything, or you can go to autofill and play 339 totally unique lineups. And same thing, if you need to prioritize who's going to get the best one, wow, there's like no monster tonight, I don't think. So I guess the qualifier would be the one to get I would want to get the best lineup. And then it's so funny, it doesn't give the entry fee. But one of the single entries, I guess, like the putback, should get the next one, I guess, or even the first one. And then the slam? No, I think the single entries should probably get priority, because you don't really need to get that as different, I suppose. I guess that's the best way I can describe this. All right, let's get the slam up there a little bit more up in the list. And again, the last thing that we need are these 150s. Okay, let's do this. And then we'll put save to contests. And we're getting 339 completely unique lineups. Like, not one is never going to be in another one. And you'll see you got a little less Ubre, but still quite a bit. Now, the key, why am I doing this, by the way? Okay, why am I doing this? Like, just going through this process. Part of it is selfish, because the more I do this, the better I get at it. And, it's kind of sick to say, but the faster I get at it. And when it comes to playing the NBA, speed is just as important, if not more, than how to set all this stuff up. Because when news comes out and you need to adjust and rerun everything, I mean, first of all, you've got to be able to do that. You've got to know how long it takes. Like last night, I got distracted by something. I mean, even my wife was in the room, like, oh shoot, I have to rerun all my lineups, and I had to rerun the projections, and then redo my actual builds, and it took me 6 minutes to do everything, and it actually, I got shut out of FanDuel. So I know that for the future, like, you got to figure out like what your time allocation is to do the things that you need to do. And that's pretty much it for today. I will be back at 6 o'clock, and I'll go over some changes. And then, you know what? We're going to do the exact same thing with the new information. And then I'm also probably going to try to do hockey at 5.